Welcome in to the first episode of the podcast for the year of 2024. As we get started here, I would like to show you how I feel about week one.
I'm in favor of execution. Maybe our entire team needs to be executed after tonight.
And that's about how I feel about it. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. Go over the week one matchups. So, as the video stated, I lost. Not happy about it. Tim's team had a pretty good week. It sucks losing Christian McCaffrey late Monday night, but you know what felt really good? Being able to have his backup ready and waiting on the bench, and to have him come in and put up 22 points. He looked really good. Jordan Mason did, as was what I'm saying. So Tim, I hate you for following my advice on being prepared and having the backup on your team. Sorry, excuse me, just had Moe's for dinner. My team, while not terrible, I had some bright spots. Cooper Kupp, Alvin Kamara had a pretty good game. Everything else a little underwhelming. The 3 points from Josh Palmer hurts, which granted, he had the 3 from Raheem Mostert, which hurts as well. We both had a terrible tight end week, as did everybody except for Isaiah Likely owners and Kyle Pitts owners. But 4.3 from my number one pick, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Cannot, hopefully not a trend. That was a weird game from the Lions, so Jordan Love had a really good game, got hurt at the end of it. Jaden Daniels looks like he doesn't know how to throw the ball. He has one read and then tucks and runs, which for fantasy is great, but little I don't really know what to think about the Washington offense. So wish I would have started Robinson over Palmer, but hindsight's 2020, and it wouldn't have made a difference anyways. Tim got Javonte Williams. Freaking Jameson Williams on the bench. He was the recipient of the Lions offense this week, so remains to be seen whether that's a thing or not, but congratulations on your win, Tim. Why did it not? There we go. Becker and Jordan. So, again, nobody had a really great quarterback week either. Freaking best NFL performances of the week went to like Sam Darnold and Derek Carr. Like, really? Burrow usually starts pretty slowly. He always kind of, has those week 1, 2, 3 slow games and then picks it up towards the middle and end of the year before he gets hurt. So another very bad game fantasy-wise for Joe Burrow. Obviously Joe Burrow has a bad game. Jamar Chase has a not-so-great game either. 12 points isn't bad, but you know what I mean. Saquon looked amazing. So actually, Saquon and Ramondre looked amazing. Was really surprised about Saquon, though. I was kind of out on Saquon this year a little bit. Philly confuses me with their offense. They have such a good offense that I always think that the passing game is going to be really good and the running game is just going to be meh, just because in years past they haven't had what they had. Who'd they have last year? What's his name? Oh my God. Drawing a blank. Anyway, he was good last year, obviously, for the Eagles, but it's just like meh. Anyway, so yeah, good games from both of them. He had the Kyle Pitts game, so 11 points still isn't fantastic by any means, but it does also help when your defense gets you 26 points. You should be thanking Will Levis for that. Some just god awful throws by Will Levis. Just nobody else around except for a Chicago defender. I was kind of surprised. I didn't think the Bears defense was going to be that good, but they were. Bears offense, on the other hand, totally different story. We'll get to that in a little bit. On Jordan's side, Kenneth Walker looked pretty good. Came up with an injury, I think at the end of the game it was. I think he'll be fine though. Other than that, your Dak and CD stack was just okay. You hope for a little bit more. It wasn't detrimental or anything, but not like Dalton Kincaid was detrimental, and DeAndre Swift was detrimental, and now you have Puka Nacua, who right before I hopped on here got an alert that he may miss more than 4 weeks, so it's a little rough. I was a non-believer in Puka Nacua this year. Didn't exactly project an injury, but glad it kind of worked out for me. I was right one way or the other. Tony Pollard had a pretty good game. He looked more like the guy over Tajay Spears, so it's pretty good. Just now saw that he has Dalvin Cook rostered. I just kind of thought that was funny. Didn't even see that till just now. So yeah, good win, Becker. By the way, some of these I am looking at for the very first time. It has been a very busy work week and everything for me. So other than my matchup, I haven't really 100% been through all this and saw who got what and everything. So bear with me if I kind of do the dumb pause while my brain catches up to my mouth. Kim gets a victory over Matt. CJ Stroud, really good game, and Nico Collins was the main recipient of it, so that's a really good stack to have right now. James Conner had more points than I thought he did. I wonder how many. I know if I click on the. Okay, no, it does show me. Okay. 3 receptions. Okay, well, he had a lot of yards on those 3 receptions, so. About 11 yards a pop, so. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I know they do this every time. Good week from James Conner. Rashad White had a good week. Garrett Wilson had a decent fantasy day. It just, in watching the game, it did not feel like it was going to be a good fantasy day. I don't know. The whole Jets offense just kind of worries me a little bit with what I saw. Cincinnati's defense, that didn't work out. That looked like a home run because everybody thought the Patriots were going to be terrible this year, myself included. And if you're like me and you pick Cincinnati to beat New England in the Eliminator Challenge, you're already out. So, Matt's side, Jared Goff and Laporta stack didn't really work out too fantastically. But Chris Godwin, really didn't expect Chris Godwin to be that great this year, but week 1 proved me wrong. 22 points, 8 for 83 and a reception, touchdown. Can't beat that. I kind of lucked into a touchdown there with Christian Watson. I don't remember, but probably before Jordan Love went out with an injury. Bijan had a decent day. Etienne, a little bit of a slow day. He got saved by the touchdown for fantasy purposes. Kyron Williams, kind of the same thing. But the Kelsey Laporta stack can kind of hurt you here this week, as well as the Jets defense, which I wouldn't have thought that would be a home run because San Francisco's offense is pretty good, but I kind of figured that the defense was going to shut them down a little bit more than that, but wrong. Zay Flowers, decent game. Obviously, Tua had a all right game. I have him in another league, and looked better than it actually was on fantasy. So, eh. Zach Moss, decent game. He looked to be the front runner over Chase Brown. So, good win there, Kim. Let's look at Tiffany and Brittaweg. So Tiffany with the win. Lamar had a pretty good game. Obviously, Devon Achane had a good game before he inevitably limped off with an ankle injury. Jahmyr Gibbs had a good game. Jahmyr Gibbs kind of saved with the passing work because David Montgomery, which I think somebody already had him. I think Tim has him. But anyway, that dude was running all over the place. Other than that, kind of just mediocre. I mean, I guess Jerome Ford, I skipped over him. Didn't feel like he had 18 fantasy points, but I guess a touchdown and 6 receptions will do that. In a PPR league, that shit adds up. I knew she left Isaiah Likely on the bench, which we all would have, so don't... kind of one of those unlucky things. Mark Andrews, 3 points. Isaiah Likely, 26. It just, she still won, so you don't really complain about it too much. Brian Thomas Jr. looked freaking fantastic to me. I think he's got a lot of potential. Jaden Reed looked really good too. It's just kind of a shame Jordan Love went down, so hopefully, the production can stay there with Malik Willis. For Ryan's team, Mahomes, Rashi Rice, pretty good. Brees Hall, pretty good. Josh Jacobs, pretty good. Other than that, a little rough outside of that. Marvin Harrison Jr., 1 for 4. That's shitting the bed if I've ever seen it. I was shocked by that. The Arizona offense looked weird, for lack of a better term. Evan Ingram did nothing. Romeo Doubs did all right. Pittman wasn't really involved a whole lot. Anthony Richardson was throwing deep bombs to Alec Pierce. So Xavier Worthy had a big game, big gadget player. So I know Ryan's hoping that'll work out every week, but who knows? J.K. Dobbins. So I was really surprised by that. I thought Gus Edwards was going to be the lead back. I kind of, with all the injuries and stuff, we were all literally talking about it at the end of the draft. JK is kind of one of those guys that's like, shame on me for, believing in him, buying into it this year just because, he's been so hurt and everything else. And, all the reports were saying he was kind of going to, it said 1A, 1B type of situation. But, I think we all thought that Gus Edwards was going to be the guy to have there. But 22 points, 135 yards, and a touchdown. It's pretty dang good. But are you ever going to start him over Brees Hall or Josh Jacobs? Probably not. Congratulations on the win, Tiffany. And last but not least, Mr. Old Man Wrecking Crew here. I think with the highest point total of the week. Let me just double check. Yeah, he did beat out Tim. Okay, by 2 points. But highest total of the week goes to Lance and his old God squad. So obviously the bomb touchdown passes from Anthony Richardson. Good performance from Tyreek Hill. Who saw Stephon Diggs being the leading receiver on the Bills week 1? Not I. I guess Lance did because he started him. Joe Mixon, that was the guy. I'm not saying Joe Mixon's a bad running back, but dude looked like the best running back in the NFL after that week 1 performance. I don't think he is, but gosh dang it. If the Texans are going to use him like that every week, Lance has got a little bit of a team here. Devontae Adams, 10 points. Aaron Jones did pretty good too. I just now kind of see that he got 18 points. I didn't think he had 94 rushing yards, but I guess he did. So good on you there. George Pickens, only game in town, so Brock Bowers, at least after week one, making me eat my words about the rookie tight ends don't produce ever, other than Sam Laporta. And I think Lance is a time-traveling tight end whisperer, and I want the rest of the secrets. So if you could please share those with me, that'd be great. Brandon Ayuk, terrible game. Didn't start him, though, so smart move. The Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown stack that Ben was so pissed about at the draft did pretty good. DK, all the targets went to Tyler Lockett for some reason. So DK had a very quiet game. Jonathan Taylor, kind of a quiet game for him. You're going to have that Colts offense is going to be weird this year. Jonathan Taylor's going to have games, and he's going to kind of disappear for some games. Javonte Williams, 23 rushing yards, very, very rough. It kind of looks like a three-headed monster at the rushing attack there with McLaughlin and God, what's his name? I can't remember. Moving on. Amari Cooper, 3 points, rough. Cleveland's offense looks like shit. Terry McLaurin, 3 points as well. Same deal. Ladd McConkey on the bench had a pretty good game. There's Gus Edwards, which we talked about a little bit earlier. So not a whole lot to talk about there. Congratulations, Lance, with the victory there. So let's, if my computer will unfreeze, let's look at the fab offers from this week. So I think we're back. Let me double check. Yep, we're back. Okay. So in years past, there's been, clear-cut guys on waivers that, you spend your big money on week one, and they end up being, if not league winners, very highly touted people that help you all year long. There may be some of those this year. I don't personally think there were. I think it was kind of a slow week one waivers. It's just not a whole lot out there. Biggest money spender this week was myself, picking up Tyler Lockett. Next highest bid was Tiffany at 9. I think I spent a little too much money on Tyler Lockett, but I kind of figured, well, if he's going to have a career resurgence, I would like that. A bunch of defenses picked up for some bids here. Cincinnati gets picked. Oh, wait, that was weeks ago. Seattle gets picked up. Chargers get picked up. Justice Hill goes for $4. Alan Lazard goes for $5. Nothing too crazy. Well, let's just do this. There were a couple people added that were not contested. Rashid Shaheed was picked up for $15. I don't think anybody else put in a bid. Let me double check. Yeah, nobody else put in a bid for Rashid Shaheed. Colby Parkinson, the Rams tight end, was picked up for $6 by Tim. I think that's a pretty good speculative ad. We talked about Justice Hill. Jalen Wright, the rookie running back on the Dolphins, was picked up by Ben for $1. Pretty good speculative ad there. It's, what's his name? I don't remember his name. The other running back from Miami, the older guy. Anyway, it's him and Jalen Wright this week, I think. Raheem Mostert's already been ruled out, and I think Devon Achane will be ruled out as well. And then Tank Bigsby and Jacksonville. So, moving on. These are the standings so far. Obviously, not a whole lot to cover there, but we're going to go over the week 2 matchups, starting with myself and Jordan. I'm kind of looking at this as I talk about it, so I think, off of what I'm seeing right here, I think this is going to be a pretty close game. Tony Pollard against the Jets. I think you can kind of run on the Jets. Houston's defense looks pretty good, and Chicago's offense looks kind of bad. I'm a little bit nervous about the DJ Moore right there. Same thing for DeAndre Swift. Kenneth Walker against New England. I don't know if his injury status at the moment. I don't care about the forecast. Drake London. The Atlanta offense looked pretty bad too. Kirk Cousins looked like a statue, like he was afraid to take a singular step. So, and against Philly's defense on Monday night, I mean, primetime Kirk Cousins, ladies and gentlemen. Let's, I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping it turns out bad, but watch it be amazing. Cowboys, Prescott and Lamb stack going up against New Orleans. I think that should be pretty good. Kansas City defense should do decently against Cincinnati. Cincinnati's offense looked a little slow. I do, however, like my defensive matchup better this week. Denver obviously also did not look good, and Pittsburgh's defense looked pretty damn good. Let's see real quick if there's anybody that Jordan could put in. Put JS in for somebody, but I doubt he does that. I wouldn't personally do that. I think my lineup might also be set, minus, maybe I throw Lockett in there instead of Brian Robinson. Not 100% sure. But Kyler and Trey McBride against the Rams, I think that's probably going to be another, I think it's kind of a high projection for both of them. I think it's maybe a mid matchup here. I am, however, expecting a bounce back week from Amon-Ra. Obviously, it's not going to be very hard to bounce back from 3 points or 4 points or whatever it was, but Cooper Kupp, I think, should be pretty damn good this week. Isaiah Pacheco, Kamara. I don't know. Maybe Kamara not. I don't know. I don't remember if you can pass, running back receptions on Dallas's defense or not. I think the real deciding factor is going to be this guy right here. If he has a big game like I expect him to, I think I might win this one. But if I have to pick, I'm just going to say that I win just because it's me doing it. But it would not shock me whatsoever if I go start the season 0-2. He's got some pretty good matchups this week, so wouldn't be shocked if Jordan pulls out the win there. So I hate that extra little thing there. Becker and Matt this week. Hold on 1 second. I gotta take a drink. Throat is parched. So Becker and Matt, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase against Kansas City. They're going to have to throw the ball. So that might work out. Kind of expecting a little bit of a down game again from Burrow. I think he gets a little rattled and maybe throws a couple interceptions. So I think that's going to be a little bit of a high projection there. Olave, not expecting a shit ton from Olave either. Saquon should have a pretty good game again. Ramondre should have a pretty good game again. I actually think Kyle Pitts has another good game. I know Kyle Pitts is not prone to doing so, but I think that does happen. Jalen Waddle, that's one of those that it's so up in the air. Dude's going to either have a monster game or a nothing game. I don't know. I am projecting, though, a monster game from Malik Neighbors. Washington's defense is hot garbage. So, yeah. He picked up Jacksonville to play against Deshaun Watson. Not a bad move at all. Let's see. Is there anybody that he might throw in? Hollywood Brown. I don't think Hollywood's going to play this week. So I would say no. Maybe he throws Hopkins in there, but I wouldn't. So I don't think so. I think that's his lineup. Matt's got the Jared Goff, Sam Laporta, against Tampa. I think that's kind of just another mid. I'm not expecting a big boom game from either one of those. Chris Godwin against Detroit. I think this is probably going to be more of a Mike Evans game. Zay Flowers against the Raiders, who have a little bit of an underrated defense, in my opinion. Don't really know what to think there either. Baltimore's offense was very confusing last week. Bijan in Philly. I believe in Bijan. He will do Bijan things. Kyron Williams, who I also did not believe in at the start of the year, relative to ADP. Not that I thought he was just going to be a bust like I kind of thought with Puka. Not a bust per se, but I just thought Kyron Williams was being drafted way too high for where he was going to produce. I do project a good game for Kyron this week. I think Travis Etienne is the same thing. I think Jacksonville's going to get up pretty early and kind of just coast, so that's perfect for running back. Kelsey against Cincinnati. I'm in the camp that they're limiting Kelsey at the start of the year to save him for the playoffs, so I don't really think that's wonderful. The Jets defense, though, against Will Levis, I think that's a great matchup. Keenan Allen has some injury stuff going on, so maybe he throws Keenan Allen in there. Two against Buffalo might not be a terrible matchup there, but I understand, you got Goff and Laporta stack that you want to rock with. I would be kind of on the fence on who to start there. I probably personally would go with Tua, but I don't think Matt listens to the podcast here, so don't know if he will heed that advice. So I'm going to Matt's the favorite. I'm going to project an upset, I think. Yeah, I'm going to project Becker to win. I kind of think that the running backs are going to kind of put up a good stat line, and then, you've got Neighbors putting up a good stat line. Probably got Waddle putting up a good game, and then Burrow, Chase, in a high scoring, or at least a come from behind affair there. So I'm going to pick Becker. We've got Lance and Kim. So let's start with Kim. CJ Stroud, Nico Collins against Chicago. Chicago's, like I said earlier, got a pretty good defense. I think this may be more of a Joe Mixon game, which obviously, ironically, Lance has. So Justin Jefferson's against San Francisco. He'll do Justin Jefferson things. Garrett Wilson should have a bounce back week against Tennessee. Rashad White did all right last week. Probably the same. James Conner probably comes back down to earth just a tad. The Rams defense is terrible, though, so maybe he does. Maybe he has a good game. Dalton Schultz against Chicago. I kind of think Schultz is like odd man out in that offense. Talked about Nico. Christian Kirk didn't look that great. I don't know what to expect against Cleveland's defense. They're not terrible themselves. Would not start Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams looked not terrible, but not great either. Last week, Najee. Ooh, that's intriguing. Would I start Najee? No, probably not, just because of the matchups here, but Najee against Denver's not a bad matchup either. I maybe would put him in for Christian Kirk, potentially, but Kirk's probably safer in a full PPR. Let's look over at Lance's team. I almost said Matt's team. Lance's team. Anthony Richardson, not quite expecting the same performance as last week. Green Bay has a very underrated defense. Richardson was not very accurate last week. Kind of think he has a little bit of a back down to earth kind of game. I mean, obviously he's always got the rushing upside, so maybe it works out, but not expecting a fantastic game from him. I'm not expecting a bust game either, but Tyreek Hill's going to do Tyreek things. Devontae Adams against Baltimore. I don't really know what to think of that. I'm going to move on. Projection's probably right. Derrick Henry against Vegas on the other side of that matchup. Probably, I would just game script wise, I would assume Baltimore kind of gets up early in this game, and Derrick Henry's not used. They look like they're going to use Derrick Henry on the goal line as like a Fridge Perry thing and just like run it in every time they're on like the red zone there. So I don't know if they're going to use their backup running back. What's his name? I keep wanting to say Gus Edwards, but it's not Gus Edwards. The other guy, y'all know who I'm talking about. Joe Mixon, I think, has a good game this week. Starting Brock Bowers. Oh, David Njoku got hurt. Okay. So, yeah, Brock Bowers did look pretty good. I don't know. Diggs. I think Diggs falls back down. I think I don't believe in Stephon Diggs this year. I'm not saying he's going to be bad per se, but at the end of the year, I think he's the third highest scoring receiver in that offense. He had the 2 touchdowns last week. I don't think he gets the 2 touchdowns this week to save him, so kind of projecting mediocre game there. And then Brandon Ayuk, obviously, not a training camp because of his holdout situation. Didn't know if he was going to be in San Fran or Pittsburgh. Think he maybe takes a little bit longer to get back again, but I think they're going to ease him back into it a little bit. So I think he'll have a little bit better week this week, but again, not fantastic. So anybody on Lance, he could start Aaron Jones or George Pickens. You don't start Aaron Jones over these 2 guys. I personally would swap out Ayuk for either one of these guys. Hell, even Jaleel McLaughlin was doing pretty good last week. Not that I would swap Ayuk for McLaughlin. Don't put words in my mouth. But yeah, I would even maybe consider playing Purdy over Richardson. Both of those defenses are pretty good, but I think Richardson has more upside, but I think Purdy's safer this week, so don't blame me either way you go. But regardless, I'm picking Lance to win this week. Moving on to Tiffany and Tim. Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews going up against Vegas. Should be a decent game for them. Ridley against the Jets, so that's going to probably not be great. I think that's going to be covered by Sauce, and Ridley's probably going to have a bad game this week. Tank Dell, I don't know what to think about it. I was a big believer going into the season. Week 1 showed me that what I thought was going to happen is not happening, so I don't know. I think he's maybe going to be more of a late bloomer this season than an early. Devon Achane, whether he plays or not, still up in the air. If he plays, you play him, because especially with Mostert being out. But, do they limit his work? Do they give Jalen Wright or I keep wanting to say Elijah Mitchell, but that's not correct. Let's look real quick. Who is the other running back? Jeff Wilson. Jesus Christ. I knew some old guy from the Niners. Jeff Wilson. So, if Achane's limited a little bit because of the injury, do they kind of, baby him this week? Is it Jeff Wilson and Jalen Wright? I don't know. It's a rough call there. Jerome Ford against Jacksonville. I think Cleveland's going to be down because of Deshaun Watson things, so I think more Deshaun Watson things happen. Not looking too bright there. Mark Andrews, I believe, should have a bounce back week from his performance last week. Jahmyr Gibbs is an auto start if healthy. Deontay Johnson, I gotta believe that Bryce Young can't be as bad as he was last week, but at the same time, rough sledding there. Jaden Reed, I would definitely start Jaden Reed, definitely over Deontay, maybe over Tank Dell this week. Even with the Jordan Love injury, I think Jaden Reed is in the game plan, and they're going to manufacture touches for him. Brian Thomas looked amazing last week. I would also consider starting him. Rashid Shaheed she picked up. I would take Deontay Johnson out of there until he proves it and start one of these guys. I get why you wouldn't start Likely, but I do think Likely is going to be more involved this year than people originally thought. Whether that hurts Mark Andrews, I don't know, or whether, they just use him more as a receiver, and now you've got Flowers, Andrews, and Likely in there. I'm not sure. I think it's probably going to be the latter there. I think they're going to just basically add him as a wide receiver and have another option in that offense. Tim, Josh Allen against Miami, love it. Evans against Detroit, love it. Debo against Minnesota, it's okay. James Cook against Miami, I'm all for it. Jordan Mason against Minnesota, I'm all for it. Parkinson against Arizona, I don't think it works this week, but I understand, Jake Ferguson's hurt, so you gotta do it. I don't blame you. Probably the tight end I would have picked up if I needed one. Montgomery against Tampa, if he plays like he did last week, love it. And Jameson Williams against Tampa, again, if he plays like he did last week, love it. Keon Coleman looked pretty all right. Looks like he's probably going to be the guy in Buffalo other than Khalil Shakir. Looks like they're going to be the new Stephon Diggs there in Buffalo. Christian McCaffrey, shitty situation. I don't think they're going to put him on IR, but I don't think he plays this week either. I think it's kind of a long shot. I think that's been the reports as well. Jordan Love, I know Tim talked to me about this yesterday. Kind of a shitty situation that they put the doubtful on there. I understand why the team doesn't want to put him on IR, but it's kind of a shitty situation for fantasy because he's sitting here eating up a roster spot when you could, pick up a flyer on somebody else. I'm picking Tim to win this week pretty easily. Tiffany's just got too many question marks over here. And then last match of the week, Breadaway and Ben. Let me take a drink one more time real quick. Let's see. Ben, Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown against Atlanta. Love it. I mean, some of these matchups, like, it's still a little too early to tell. I'm just going off of what, my first gut initial reactions would be. I don't think Atlanta has a fantastic defense. You got to play those two anyway, so it doesn't matter. DK Metcalf, you got to give him another chance. I think that was more of a, just a shitty situation last week. I don't think Tyler Lockett's going to be the number one in that offense at all. I think Metcalf bounces back. Taylor against Green Bay. I think that 15-point projection is actually way too high. I'm probably thinking Taylor gets a 7 or 8 point week this week. In which case, it's not a bust per se, but it's not a good week either. Starting Gus Edwards, I guess he's hoping that it goes from JK to Gus. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, so Bradwick has JK and Ben has Gus Edwards, so I think that's going to play a pretty good point here of who wins this week. George Kittle against Minnesota. I don't know why. I have a feeling that George Kittle is going to have one of his games this week. I feel like George Kittle had an amazing game last year against Minnesota. I could have dreamt that. I have no idea. I am nervous for Amari Cooper and Terry McLaurin because of the offenses that they are on, not necessarily the talent of the receiver. Would consider playing Lad McConkey against Carolina, but at the same time, I think the Chargers are going to get to an early lead on Carolina and coast for the running game. So, that's why I'm thinking that Gus and JK, one of them's going to have a pretty good... Hell, both of them could have a good game. I don't really know, but I think one of them's going to have a better game than the other by far, and I'm kind of leaning towards JK having the better game. If I was building an NFL team and I had to pick one of these just based off of like talent and what they could bring to my team, I would pick J.K. Dobbins. So that's kind of what I'm going off for fantasy as well. On Breadaweg's side, Patrick Mahomes and Rashee Rice should be a pretty good combo this week against Cincinnati. Marvin Harrison. Definitely think Marvin Harrison's going to be more involved in that, but it also at the same time looks like Marvin Harrison's going to be a deep threat more so than a PPR machine, which is what he was in college. But obviously I think we as fantasy managers expected more, even for season 1 of Marv. So hopefully the Arizona offense can get back up and running. Not necessarily because I want Ben to win, but I have Marvin Harrison in another league, and obviously I have Kyler Murray and Trey McBride. So Michael Pittman Jr., shit, I don't know. Green Bay is so weird. Indy's so weird. Breece Hall, that projection is probably about right. I'm thinking maybe a little bit low. I think this is a big Breece Hall game. Shut up. Sorry, HP popped up with something. Josh Jacobs, I think he has a really good week this week. I think that's a little low on the projection side. Indy's run defense is a little suspect yet again, like we were for the whole 2000s. Evan Ingram probably has a bounce back week from what he did last week. Still not expecting super great things. T. Higgins, don't really know what the injury status on T. Higgins is. Did not practice Wednesday, so maybe he doesn't play. So probably would avoid trying to start him. Would consider... No, I would. I think Devin Singletary has a good week this week, but I was saying I would maybe consider starting him, but no, I wouldn't. I mean, unless you want to sit Marv for him, but I get why you don't do that. I would probably start Marv too, so don't blame me there. Xavier Worthy, my thoughts are he's a little bit more of a gadget player than anything. But even with that, I am hanging with my homie, a.k.a. Breadaway, to win this week. So I think that is going to be it for this week of the podcast. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the episode. Early on in the year, don't have a whole lot of to talk about. And obviously, there wasn't a whole lot of big waiver acquisition guys that it was just like all was fighting on waivers for. So not a shit ton to talk about this week. NFL week 1 was just too crazy, too all over the place for me to like really talk about one specific thing. There's a lot of things going on. And as always, if anybody wants to join me next week, feel free to reach out. Trying again this year to get a good mix of everybody in the league to come on at one point or another. I know schedules are conflicting and stuff. I usually do these episodes on Wednesday. Could potentially do them on Tuesday, but I do like to do them on Wednesday so that we can cover waivers and everything. But anyway, If you guys want to come on, reach out and let me know, and we'll get you over here to the house and record this thing. Other than that, guys, thanks for listening, and I'll see you next week. Good luck, everybody, except for, who am I playing? Jordan. Jordan, bad luck for you this week. Everybody else, good luck.